speak, you unmute yourself and then come on, okay? Because we're gonna try and make it interactive. I got a tiny bit better at Zoom classes, I hope, since the last time we spoke, so let's see what we could do. So welcome back, those of you. Hi, Minna. Welcome back, those of you who are back on, and those of you who are here for the first time, good to have you. Okay, so not everybody is muted. Okay, so last Monday, when we spoke, we began by sharing a definition of anxiety. Anybody want to raise their hand and share what we said anxiety was? Okay, so it's not a test, but we said that anxiety is our body's natural response to danger. And the reason that we're having this Zoom class and that we had the one before is because many of us are experiencing ourselves in a time of a pandemic, and many of us are feeling that danger is around the corner. So what we did last week was we spoke a lot about anxiety and we shared 10 techniques. I'm going to share some new techniques today, and we're also going to talk about the 5 stages of grief, because that's what many of us are, that's a lot of what our anxiety is about, with an emphasis on the 6th stage, which is a new stage that was added. And when we get there, you'll understand more clearly what we're talking about. So how many of you practiced the techniques that we used the last time? And does anyone want to share something that was helpful to them? Let me get the full. Anybody want to share a technique that they used that was helpful to them? Oh, come on, guys. Okay, Jerry.
Well, at 3 a.m. when I couldn't sleep last night, I did some of the breathing. And actually, it did help me relax. And then I was able to at least read a little bit, didn't go back to sleep. But it definitely relaxed my body, so thank you. Great.
Anybody else? I'll try to get a different view. If Julie or Sari, if you see somebody, because I don't know why, oh, here, now I know I could. Anybody else want to share a technique that they used last week that was helpful to them?
Sandy.
Sandy.
So I used the same breathing because my heart was like coming out of my chest. I felt like I was in panic. So I stopped and did the breathing, and it helped.
Great. Okay. So I got a few text after.
I also did something that was very helpful. I stopped watching the news.
Okay, so we talked about having a media fast and good, and I did too. So much so that I was feeling terrible for my children who are having a baby, God willing, in May. And my daughter-in-law and son were so upset that they weren't going to be together. And every day I was feeling all this pain that it's their first child and they can't be together. And on Friday, someone mentioned to me that their child was due any day. And I said, what a shame they can't be together. And she said, oh yeah, that was reversed. Governor Cuomo reversed it. I called up my kids and I killed them. You know, I don't watch the news. But anyway, that's good news that they could be together. Okay, so yes, I practice media fasting too, because I'm very sensitive to the visual and to pain around us. So I try to keep a fast from the media. I was beginning to say that I got a few phone calls of thanks after the talk with people who used the technique of connection by FaceTiming their grandchildren and reading them books. And they felt that that was, in fact, so soothing to them. And I wanted to elaborate on that technique, review it for you, because Bessel van der Kolk, who is on the forefront of post-traumatic shock, came out and he said that a very underused relaxation technique is singing. And he suggested that we FaceTime and sing with our friends and sing with our family. And he said that on his block in Boston, the neighbors are going onto the porches and they're singing. I know that in Jerusalem and in Beit Shemesh, they were praying Kabbalat Shabbat from their porches and singing. I know that my family plans, we're not so excited singers, but we plan on Wednesday, Erev Chag, to FaceTime all over in the US and Israel, and we're going to sing songs from the Haggadah together and share Divrei Torah, and the kids are going to prepare their thoughts also, and I think that is a lovely idea, and if you could follow through with Bessel Vanderkolk and you have friends and neighbors who like singing, go out on your porches and sing, but that is a form of connection, and singing is a way that we breathe and control our breath also, so it allows us to be calm.
Vicky, my block has been doing that the past 3 Fridays.
Wonderful, beautiful.
Madalons live on the block and they organize it. Everybody sits on their porch and sings all the Shabbat songs.
So I heard another amazing thing. A woman, Nancy Sutton, told me that her mother turned 89 and they had a birthday party. Everybody drove around the block, all the kids and the grandkids with posters and sang happy birthday to her mother. She sat on the porch. She said it was the best birthday she ever had. So if we could be creative, what we're all sharing together is the need to be connected and how much this sense of connection soothes us, which is probably why we're also all on this Zoom class, seeing each other's faces and sharing our thoughts and ideas, our ways of calming down as well. Okay, moving along. I'd like to teach you a cognitive behavioral technique that would help to bring you in the moment. One of the problems that we have when we feel anxiety, which is why the breath work helps Sandy and Jerry, is because our minds take flight. We think of the what ifs, we think about the future, and what we need to do during this time is take one moment at a time and one day at a time. So the technique that we're going to learn now is a way to move our thoughts into the present moment so that we're not out there. CBT is short for cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'm gonna teach you one and then a variation of another. And this was inspired by Mel Robbins, who wrote a book called The 5-Second Rule. Yes, Julie. My friend Julie and Joy Ashkenazi, because it's always good to express gratitude and thanks, took me to the Mel Robbins show. She has a show. She's also a coach. She's not a psychologist, she's a coach. And she's very refreshing because she talks to you and she says, I'm learning while I'm teaching you. And I'm trying to get through this just like you're trying to get through it. So she wrote this book called The 5-Second Rule. And she wrote it when she was down in the dumps. Her husband lost his business. There was loss of income, which is something that many of us are experiencing now. And she couldn't get out of bed in the morning. And every morning she would say, I'm going to get out of bed tomorrow. I'm going to get out of bed tomorrow. And she didn't. She didn't get out of bed till 12. She had young children. She didn't take care of them properly. Finally, one evening she was watching a show and she saw a space shuttle take off, and they counted down, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She said, what a brilliant idea. She said, the next morning, I'm going to count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to get out of bed. And that's what she did. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she got out of bed. Now, anyone want to guess why that worked? By the way, you could get the book on Amazon, and it's also available in Audible. It's a good time now to listen to Audible books because we're preparing for the holiday, but we want to maybe listen to something. So you could listen to books on Audible. And you can listen to it right away, where now it takes a little while till Amazon sends us books. So anybody have an idea as to why this worked? You can unmute yourself and talk up if you want to.
You're not giving me the name of the book.
Who's talking?
Cheryl Pardo.
Yes.
The name of the book
The
is...
name of the book is called The 5-Second Rule. by Mel Robbins. So the reason that the 5-second rule works, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is because remember the oldest trick of the trade, what we were told? Don't get angry at your children, count to 10 before you say something, or before you say something, if you're angry at your husband, before you say something, count to 10. So when we count, we're distracting our brain, we're pausing, and we're able to change our thoughts. So it's a very simple technique. So this 5, 4, 3,
like gearing
1,
up.
excuse me?
It's sort of like gearing up.
Gearing up, okay. It's gearing up, it's also slowing down. So let's say I want to have a piece of chocolate, but I'm pre-diabetic and I know chocolate's not good for me. So I'm walking towards the cabinet where the chocolate is and I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're pre-diabetic. But the time that it takes me to get to the cabinet, if I say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I could readjust my thoughts. And instead of going for the quick fix, I could think about what I really could do now instead of eating the piece of chocolate. So we can count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 before we get into any negative thought patterns or before we do something that's not necessarily healthy for us. It's as simple as that. But a take on that, also inspired by Mel Robbins, is in order to be in the moment, is what we're going to do now. So the first technique I'm going to share with you, and the next ones you're going to share with me. So for the first one, I'd like what I'm going to do, and you could do it on your own, is to come up with 5 things in the moment that you could see or see that bring you joy. Either that you just see, because that's keeping you in the moment instead of sending you off on your creative, imaginative anxiety. So 5 things that you could see in the moment and 5 things that you could see in the moment that could bring you joy. So I'm going to begin this, and I did plan it, and I planned it when I was writing this, and these are things that I had on my desk and in my room. So for starters, I have Bliss Lemon and Sage Body Butter Maximum Moisture Cream. Now this brings me a lot of joy for 2 reasons. One, as you know, we're all washing our hands, and my hands are traditionally dry even the best of times. So, and this is a lovely hand. I'm not getting paid by Bliss. I don't even know if they still make this cream, but why it brings me joy, aside from the fact that it's helping me to keep my hands moisturized, is that I'm talking to you from the desk and the room that my daughter Yael lives in the summer. We're in Jersey, and this is her room, and this is her cream, which I asked if I could use that she left here. So when I put it on, I think of her as my hand get moisturized. Okay, we'll go with this. It's not kosher for Passover, but I think it's amazing. So you might want to think about it after Passover. It's Tory gum, CBD infused. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with CBD. Not going to talk about that now. It's Star K Parv and vegan, and each tablet has 10 milligrams of CBD, and I'm loving this gum because I love gum, and now I'm getting CBD, which is calming. So Tori, T-A-U-R-I gum. And my daughter Michal introduced me to it. She is a social worker, and she ordered a box for me. Okay, so that makes me happy too. My orchid over here and my fern plant. The fern plant was given to me for my birthday by a neighbor. The orchid was the last flower that I bought before going into quarantine 4 weeks ago. Flowers make me very, very happy, this one in particular. Okay, how many did we do so far?
3.
Okay, 4. This is a picture that's on the wall in this room. I took this picture on a conference in Hilton Head, South Carolina. It's a picture on the beach that was taken at 4 a.m. And if you could see, it's got like a rivulet or a path through the sand. And when I think about this picture, I think about the the trails that we make in our brains. And just like we can, when a wave comes, it washes away that trail, we can wash away the negative trails that we bring up in our brain and create new ones. So just to show you this again, we could create new trails in our brains, okay? And it's also very calming because it's the beach. And lastly, I'm going to try and share my screen with you. Let's see if it works. Oh gosh, where did it go? 1 minute, I'm going to find it.
Can I say something?
Guys, hold on, guys. Why isn't it showing? Ah, okay. So much for learning more with Zoom. It was on there before. It is a picture of, do you see me anymore?
I see you.
Okay. So it's a picture of the beautiful pear tree that I have outside my home, and I wish you could see it, but for whatever reason, it's not. I'm going to try it one more time. Share. Okay.
Oh,
Now
there it is.
you see it?
Yes, it's
Okay.
beautiful.
So,
Yes, wow.
okay, so we planted that tree right before Hurricane Sandy. And if you could see on the side, it has an anchor because during Hurricane Sandy, the ground was so moist that it almost came out of the ground, and we hammered it in. And I love this picture because, well, I love it because I never got to see it in bloom because we always come here in the summer. And because we're here in the spring, I got to watch it every day grow more and more flowers. And now we're up to some small leaves. And it reminds me of the passage of time and nature, which is always consistent. And while we're inside and we are worried, we know that life does continue and it does go on. And this tree represents that for me on so many levels. So I wanted to share that with you. So what we just did now, let me try and get out of here now. Do you still see me?
We're seeing your family picture. It must be your screensaver.
Okay, that's my screensaver.
Go to the top where it says viewing options.
Okay. Stop share.
There you go.
Okay.
Now my other share we're going to have a problem with, but I'll find it because my other share disappeared from the screen. So what I understand is you can only have one at a time. I think that's what the problem is. Okay, so we just did 5 things that I see around me that create joy or that I just see. And so that is a technique that you could do to ground you in the moment and to distract you from negative thoughts out there. The next one you're going to share with me, and that's 4 things that you are proud of that you've been doing now during this time of quarantine. So you could either unmute yourself and share 4 things, or if you're shy, you could chat.
Okay, what did I do? I redid my website.
Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead. Who's that? Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Robin Antar.
Okay,
So
Rob.
what did I do? I redid my website. I organized my studio. I just organized things in general because I had my house painted and it's half painted because I threw them out in the middle. So I had to organize myself and say, okay, this is the way it's going to be for the next 6 months. And I'm redoing my website, which is, to me, is a big challenge.
Okay, good.
I'm too busy.
Wonderful. Okay, so some people wrote in my garden in my front yard, my daughter's nail polish collection, my Kindle, FaceTime my grandchildren, bonding with my daughter. Connecting with seniors came up twice. Continuing to work from home, helping fulfill the needs for food and gloves for seniors. That's Linda J at the center, Sari connecting with seniors. Sarah Kassab, I go for beautiful walks and see very new flowers in bloom. Just fantastic volunteering always makes me happy. From Esther J. Hittery to everyone. I'm in Florida and my neighbor in Brooklyn was thoughtful enough to send me a picture of my pear tree bloom since I'm away and not getting the pleasure of seeing it. Okay, but right now, and all of that is wonderful, I'm asking you to share with me four things that you're proud of that you're doing during this time of COVID-19. Some of you are going back to the first one, which was 5 things that bring you joy in the moment. So I'm very happy
Vicky.
about that. Yes, Julie.
Okay, so I'm spending much more time with my parents.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I go for a walk with my father mostly every day for over an hour, 6 feet distancing, sit on the porch. Well, they sit on the porch. I sit down by the street. I see my in-laws a lot. Also on the way to see my parents, we stop off. The other thing that I'm doing is basically I'm doing everything the same as usual. I say I'm going to exercise and then I push it off like I normally do during the year, unless it's a scheduled exercise. I'm still in the kitchen cooking. I'm still talking to I'm still talking to my kids every day. The only thing that different that I'm doing is I am praying much harder now than I did in the past.
Good. Thank you for sharing, Julie. So in my chats, Etty Azrak said, I've been exercising every morning and watching what I eat as part of my diet. I've been planning meals for everyone. I'm in general being in mission control for the whole house as usual. Jacqueline Sutton wrote, reading more, going to more book clubs, listening to more rabbi classes, helping my students with remote learning. Linda J wrote, staying in touch with friends and family by phone and Zoom, even my 96-year-old dad. Zoom shul services, managing being alone, talking with friends, family, neighbors, sharing resources. Toba Goldberg wrote, calling single and widow friends to check in with them. Great. So this would be so we did 5 things that you see that bring you joy, 4 things that you're proud of. Now, it seems superfluous to say because a lot of things that you're proud of are 3 people that you love and you're going to reach out to every day. So I want you to think about 3 people that you love and you're going to reach out to every day. So many of you said reaching out to seniors. Many of you said reaching out to grandchildren, neighbors, the elderly. It's super important during this time and it helps you, we're up to 3, it helps you to feel good. Okay, 2 new things you're going to learn. So we're doing 5, 4, 3, 2, we're up to 2. 2 new things you're going to learn. Who wants to share 2 new things they're going to learn? Or learning. Orly Benun, unmute yourself.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
This year, you want to say?
This year, I made the whole chal set.
This year you made the charo set on your own.
This was a first for us. So going back to your last question of new things was making the seder that we're going to be very proud of, and making a lot of the traditional foods that we never made before.
Very nice. Okay, anyone else want to share? Learning to pray before all foods that I eat new for me, said Pamela Jamal. Connecting with family, very bonded to family and friends, Zooming, yoga. That was to the question before. So new things, we're learning to pray before all foods that I eat. Great. Anyone else? Anyone trying to learn a new language? Anyone learn Zoom for the first time or continuing to learn it like me? Anyone learning new techniques to deal with anxiety? All of those things, what an opportunity we have now to learn new things. Okay, 1, we're down to 1. I think it's important for us to remind ourselves that individually right now we're doing whatever we can.
Fruit order?
Can we
Oh,
mute?
okay, because my wrap order just never came. I don't know.
Okay.
Sally, could you mute, please?
Okay.
Sally, it's okay.
Okay. So recognizing and being able to say, currently I am safe and I'm going to work because I am safe and secure. I'm going to stay positive and feel good. It's a mantra. We have to remind ourselves we're safe. And as a result, even though there is a lot going on, there are a lot of people we know that are not well, we have to stay positive in a time of upheaval. So reminding ourselves to stay positive and to say, I need to be positive at a time when there's a lot of negativity. So that's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anyone want to review it for me? Anyone? Okay. We'll review
Okay,
it.
I could do it.
Okay.
5 things that bring you joy.
Yes.
4 things that, I don't remember the 4, sorry, I'm stuck.
4
things
things
that you're
that
proud
you're
of.
proud of.
Proud of. 3 people that you're gonna stay in touch with. 2 new things that you're going to learn. And
1, being positive, having a positive mantra during a negative time. Okay, so now you're going to stick with me for 1 second while I share with you one of my favorite quotes from Viktor Frankl, which I have to put on my share screen because he very much speaks to this point of how one thing that cannot be taken away from us at any point is our attitude. So before I go there, I want to share with you who Viktor Frankl is. He's one of my heroes and many people's heroes. He wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. He was a psychoanalyst at the time of the Holocaust, and he was in Auschwitz, and he was on the death marches. And he's very famous for a lot of his philogotherapy, which is a form of psychotherapy that he created during that time. And he has a famous story about how he was on the death march and it was freezing and they were starving and he fell to the ground. And if you fell to the ground, in most situations, you were killed. Viktor Frankl, when he fell to the ground, he imagined himself talking to his classroom of students. He said, wait, I can't die. I haven't finished my work. He hadn't finished his theory of logotherapy. And he imagined himself in a classroom sharing his thoughts that he continued to create while he was in concentration camp. And the strength of the future helped him to get up, continue, and ultimately survive. Not only did he lecture to 30 students in the classroom, he lectured to thousands and thousands. And his book is probably now, you can get it because probably now it speaks to everyone very strongly during our time of Corona. So let's see if I could find you. Here we go, Viktor Frankl. Okay, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read you his quote because I'm not sure I can get it up there and then I'll go back, I'll find you again. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one attitude in any set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. And that's really our challenge today, is to choose our attitude during this time. So what we said was to choose an attitude that's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 positive and stay in the moment, correct? So that's from Viktor Frankl. Now, what I would like to do is go over the 5 stages of grief with you. We kind of touched on it in last week, but I'd like to speak to you about it a little more clearly because my belief is that I'm just checking my phone in case someone's trying to speak to me. Okay. So my daughter wrote that she's on the call. She's in Israel. How cool is that? That we're so connected. Okay, so that makes me very happy. And it makes me happy to see all of you. So the 5 stages of grief, and we said the 6th one, which is finding meaning. So here's the book by David Kessler. It's another book that I highly recommend. Maybe, I'm not sure you want to read it now, although you really can find meaning if you read this book now. But it is heavy. Finding Meaning, the 6th Stage of Grief by David Kessler. And I'll talk to you about the book in a second. I wanted to read a light book over Shabbat, but somehow I was drawn to that book. So the 5 Stages of Grief were written by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and they've been used for years. They used to think that they were linear. They're denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. By linear, I mean, it used to be that they believed you started with denial, you went to anger, then you went to bargaining, then you went to depression, and ultimately there was acceptance. And now David Kessler, with permission from Elizabeth Kubler's foundation, has added the 6th stage, which is finding meaning. Today we know that life is not so simple. You don't start in denial, go to anger, bargaining, depression, and ultimately find your way in acceptance. We go in and out of these stages. We go back and forth with them. So let's just talk about them a little bit because we're very much feeling this. It's probably the primary feeling that we're feeling now during our time of denial. So anybody want to suggest what kind of denial, how we've been experiencing denial through Corona? Anybody want to share? Could unmute yourself and speak up?
Hi, Vicky.
Yeah, who's that?
Esther.
Hi, Esther, go ahead.
I never really thought, like right before this whole Corona thing, I never really thought it was gonna take form as much as it did, you know? So I was really in denial, you know, until about like maybe a week ago.
So many, right, Esther. So many of us thought it was happening in Wuhan, it's happening to people. Exactly. So much so that I think 3 weeks ago, there were people who still think they were going to go away for Passover on trip.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I remember playing cards like 2-3 weeks ago, and we all said, yeah, China has it, China. We never thought.
Yeah, so also I think that one of the things I'm noticing is that when I pray in the morning, I can't believe how many times we ask God to prevent a magefa. We just used to read it. Like, who really believes that there's going to be a pandemic, a plague? How many of us paid attention to those words? But none of us really believed that in our lifetime, we would experience a pandemic of this level. The last one that took place was the Spanish flu, and most of us didn't know anybody, although the other day my sister told me that her husband's father's sister died of the Spanish flu in Brooklyn. But I never knew anyone who died of the Spanish flu, and I never knew anyone who spoke of the Spanish flu. So we're in shock and disbelief, and we were in denial. Anger. So who wants to speak to anger? Nobody's angry? Go ahead, Sandy. Wait, 1 minute. Go ahead.
So I'm angry that we're having the holidays alone. I'm angry that the elderly are in their homes alone. I'm angry that we're preparing a way that we never prepared before. I'm sad.
Right, you're sad. You're mad and sad. Joy Cabassa wrote, angry, I can't see my kids. Margaret Dweck, going back to the previous one, said, I'm still in denial, thinking normal life will be next week. Okay, anyone else want to speak to anger, add to what Sandy said?
Yeah, I'm angry that there are still people that are not doing the responsible thing and staying home.
Exactly. Okay. So Michelle said she's angry that people are not social distancing, that people are not wearing masks, that people are getting together. Somebody wrote to me that they came out to Jersey and went to the store and it was crowded. Yeah, we have to do our part. Orly?
Angry, maybe more frustrated that some demands, unrealistic demands, are being put on us that can't be met and are making it really, really difficult and stressful.
School related?
I don't want to be specific.
Okay. All right, angry at demands that she doesn't feel could be met. Yola Haber wrote, I'm angry when I see other people acting normally. I'm angry that I can't be with my best friend in her time of loss, both father and sister. Oh my God. Angry for the healthcare workers that there aren't enough people, that there aren't enough supplies. I'm angry that the United States did not prepare for this in ways that some of the other countries have, and that we don't have enough respirators, masks, and that we're not protecting our healthcare providers in the hospitals. I'm sad.
That's what I'm angry about, Vicky.
Yeah.
Vicky,
Yep.
can you hear me?
Yes, Adrienne, I know.
Hi.
I was, and many people are seconding the motion on that, and there are people who are saying that they're angry that there's no school. I think, believe it or not, that there are kids that are angry that there's no school, and there's certainly mothers that are angry that there's no school, and there are mothers that are angry that there's so much work that they have to do together with their children. Somebody wrote they're angry they can't pay a Shiva call, but you know that you can't FaceTime. We've been doing many FaceTime Shiva calls. And if you can't do FaceTime, you could text. And if you can't text, you could call. So please do that if you know someone who's sitting Shiva. Okay, bargaining is another stage. What do you think that one's about? What if I just fill in the blank? Orly, unmute.
Okay, this has been a huge one for me because I'm really struggling with the holiday and my mother is alone, and I felt I've spent this past week, I can't sleep at night. I'm talking to my siblings and it's all about, well, what if mommy goes over here? Or what if we do it this way? Or what if she wears a mask and sits in the corner? Or what if we eat outside by her house? And it's this constant trying to bargain between family members.
Just because I know your mom, okay? It's so painful to think of people who are alone. But your mom is strong. It's one Pesach. She's going to be okay. She made the Seders for you. She's going to be okay. So everybody just has to be safe and do the right thing.
Right. But I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay, moving to...
I always wrap my head around it.
Moving to the next stage, which is something many of us are feeling, which is depression. Sadness from all the loss. Anybody want to speak to that? People are, I mean, Orly just spoke about how she feels sad, and many people on this are sad about having parents who are alone, having fathers who are having Seder alone, mothers who are having Seder alone, they themselves being individuals who are having Seders alone. Then there are the people who have always gone on trips and we're looking forward to it. People who have daughters who they were hoping would meet somebody on this trip and have been preparing, have been shopping and having them on diets and all set to go have a good time. I think beyond the Seder, we're all concerned about the loss of income, about what's going to be with our economy after we do come out of quarantine. Those are real concerns that are making people sad. Yes, Toba.
I read someplace that we are grieving the normal life we had before, and that life is never going to be like that again.
Right.
And that is really grieving.
Correct. So we spoke to that last week, and the reason we're going through these stages is because that's precisely the point. So while that sounds super grim, I do think, just like we spoke about the new things that we've been learning during this time, that there will be some very wonderful things that will come out of this time. That life as it was will not be, but there will be new, how many of you remember after 9/11 how nice New York was? So I remember New Jersey too. When I used to walk on the boardwalk, everybody said hello. In the last few summers, when we walk on the boardwalk, nobody says hello. My husband always says to me, do I look weird? Do you look weird? Because we say hello. Nobody says hello. But trauma and crisis make people nicer most of the time. And I think that there are going to be a lot of nice things that come out of it too, and a lot of creative, positive, but life as we know it will be different. And we'll also know that such a thing as a pandemic can exist. Okay, moving to acceptance. So most of us are at the point, particularly those on this chat, on this Zoom class, are at the point where we accept that our parents, our mothers, our fathers, our parents, ourselves, I'm alone. This is the first time I'm with one other person in my life at a Seder. I feel very grateful that I'm with my husband, but it's the first time ever that I've been alone with one other person at a Seder. So, and I'm 63 years old. So, but we accept it, and I think we need to have perspective and pray that this be the last Seder that we're separated from our loved ones and can't have our families together. So those are the 5 stages. I wanted to go through them with you, but I want to leave you more on a happy note. So we move into the 6th stage, which is the stage of meaning. So loss is something that happens to us, but meaning is something that we create. Meaning empowers us. So if we take Corona and we turn it into a different time, we turn ourselves into different people, then we begin to create, we make meaning happen. The fact is, we live in denial all the time. None of us know how long we're going to live for. We don't know if we're going to live for 5 minutes, 5 years, 50 years. We make believe we're going to live forever. We don't have that kind of control. What we have control over is how we choose to spend our time now, how we choose to spend our time every moment, every minute of our day. So if we think about it, we know that loss can paralyze us, but that, like I said before, meaning empowers us, and this makes sense to us. I want to share a story that David Kessler tells in his book. It's called The Spoons. So a man passes and he goes, and he's shown gold gates. And he's told, I'm taking you to hell. And he passes green meadows and flowers. And he smells amazing foods that create saliva in his mouth. And that he's like, this is hell? He can't believe it. He just can't wait to get further inside. And he goes inside a room and the table is full of the most magnificent foods you can imagine. And he sees people emaciated, people like skin and bones, moaning and groaning and holding on to these extra long spoons. And the spoons are so long that they can't get it into their mouths. He's then taken to another room. And in that room, he smells the same smells. He sees the same beautiful food, and everybody there is taking their spoon and feeding the person opposite them. So that's heaven. That's a community. That's creating meaning. That's sharing. We have these opportunities now, from the small to the grandiose. First, I want to thank you for allowing me to share with you during this time, because that has been very meaningful to me. We talked about making phone calls to the elderly, phone calls for people who are sitting Shiva, phone calls to friends you haven't spoken to in a long time. Don't wait for them to call you. Call them. FaceTime the elderly. Try, if they have aids, try to, if they don't have the iPad, try and order an iPad. It'll take a while, but we're not getting out of this so soon. There are amazing tzedakah organizations online. Leket Israel that gives food, our own Bikuch Olim, Sephardic Food Fund, but we have to reach beyond our community as well. All of these things bring meaning. And so I suggest that you find your own. And now I'd like to share two techniques that could help to ground you in the present moment. When you forget all these things I spoke to you about, you'll remember this one, okay? So this technique of grounding is inspired by Peter Levine, who is the originator of somatic experiencing. It's a type of psychology, and it's particularly used in times of trauma. So he's someone that we would turn to at this time. And what we're going to do is create containment. We're going to hold ourselves. So what you do is you take your right hand and you place it under your left armpit across your chest. So you can actually, if your heart is beating quickly, you'll be able to feel it. And then you take your left hand and you cross it over your right. So what you're doing is you're holding on to yourself. And so at moments when you're feeling panic or you're just beginning to feel fluttering, you do this, you hold on to yourself. And we can now do the breathing that we did last week, where you breathe in, take a regular breath in and a regular breath out. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, slowly let go, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In, 1, 2, 3, hold on, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, slowly let go, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But even if you were not to do the breathing, if you were just to hold on, it's an exercise in containment where you can really ground yourself in the present moment. The other thing you can do is you can place one hand on your forehead. If you're the type of person when you have anxiety, you feel your heart beating very quickly, you would keep your hand on your right hand on your heart, whichever feels more comfortable, you could switch off. But if you're the type of person who feels a lot of stomach fluttering, you can keep your other hand on your stomach. And you can hold here, you could breathe here, or you could do the mantra. So those are two very easy techniques created by Peter Levine that help create containment. So really, I'll be happy to take some questions. I want to remind you, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Look for ways to do good. Your attitude is infectious. If you have positive thoughts, you'll help everybody around you have positive thoughts. Together we can beat this. Connect to yourself and others, practice containment and breathe, and have a unique Pesach, one which you'll share with your children and grandchildren for years to come, and hopefully it will be a good one. So those are my thoughts. I'm open to any questions if anyone has that they want to share. You could either unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Toba? Oh no. Okay, Cheryl.
can this be rewatched? Somebody just,
I'm hoping that Julie,
Sari recorded it. I recorded it also, but I don't
Yes.
know how to retrieve it, but I could play with it and figure it out. But I think Sari also recorded
Okay,
it.
Yes,
so
if anybody could send it to me.
one of the things that I'm almost committed to doing as a result of Corona is opening up a professional Instagram account, meaning one for my work as opposed to one that's private, because my Instagram is pretty private, but one for work where I post techniques so that people could go on it and pick it up. And I would want Vicky audio the last class, even though it wasn't recorded by the center. She did an audio. Many people asked me for it. I sent it out, but I would put that on. Some of you got my tapping technique, which I haven't done because it would require you going to wash your hands before we did it, and I didn't want to take that time. But I'm hoping to put some techniques and put Viktor Frankl's quote up and 4, 3, 2, 1 by Mel Robbins and yada, yada, yada. So don't hold me to it, but I hope to do that. And hopefully Sari recorded it. I feel fine if any of you ask her for it, and give it to as many people as possible. Whoever could help, that's great.
Definitely. Anybody can text me and I'll send it to them, because I will find a way to retrieve it and get it.
Orly, the class was advertised on Instagram in the Center Culture Club. And not doing,
follow Center Culture Club.
Someone asked, are you doing another session Chol Hamoed? I am not doing another session Chol Hamoed, but God willing, after Pesach, maybe I'll do another one. Maybe, but not during Chol Hamoed.
No. Thank you, Vicky.
Okay.
Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
Thank you.
For the opportunity, and wishing you all
Happy holiday, everybody.
Happy holiday to everybody.
Let us continue to inspire each other.
Amen.
Thank you.
Bye.
Amen. Thank you.
Happy holiday, everybody.
Holiday.
Amen. Follow Center Culture Club for future classes, events, whatever else.
Thanks, Julie.
Okay.
Thanks, Vicky.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.